Welcome to Caribbean Millennials.
Welcome to another episode of the Caribbean Millennials podcast. So, guys, we're just gonna get started here. Not ask Vernon or Danny how their weeks have been. We're going straight into the business because
we have a special guest.
first guest of the year. I think. Yes.
2022 guest virginity.
Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa. That usually leads to pregnancy.
Segue.
Welcome to our first guest of the year, Kris Bailey. Say hello to people.
Thank you for having me. This is really exciting. I've always wanted to be on the podcast, and I've always wondered if what would my fruit be? Like, what would my fruit face be?
Okay.
Because I love how you guys did your fruit faces, and I'm like, damn, what would my fruit face be?
So, what you think yours would be? You have my attention, and
I don't know.
No one has ever asked that, so I'm like, okay.
I'm thinking like a pomme d'amour.
Wow. Okay.
We need to start asking that because you know.
I feel like that's a new question.
Kris,
now.
this is why you're like so creative.
Just change the game for all guests
because
set a new bar.
You know, the thing is, we've had the fruit faces, you know, from the beginning, but we've never really tied them in, talked about them, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
we should start asking guests like, what's their fruit face?
Yeah, I tell you, she just changed the game for all guests. You know?
I like it, Kris.
She raised the bar another level there.
I love that. But how did you guys come up with their fruit face, and how did you know who was who? Like, Anushka, how did you know your fruit?
So it's actually hilarious that it just happened
it
because I was working with a graphic designer at the time, and I said, I want something, Caribbean fruit, like give them faces and, like edgy text kind of sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she did it and we started tweaking it, we like took a step back and like the coconut was 100% Adani. The graphic designer had never even seen Adani. I don't think she even saw any of us. Right? I don't think she saw pictures.
Instant.
And then at that time, my hair was like long and curly. So like, okay, no doubt I'm pineapple. Right? And then Vernon loves mangoes. And there's even like last year, Vernon was literally going to Walmart and buying like 20 green mangoes at a time to make mango in sauce. And you see how the mango is kind of like it not like ripe.
They're back at Kroger. I saw them, but I was just waiting. I'm like, next time I go there,
it's on.
In there, like swimwear.
So it was 100% organic.
Nice. Organic. That's so good.
But it's just the vibe is how it worked out. But guys, let's get into this awesome guest that we have today, Kris Bailey. If you know her from St. Lucia, you know Kris is a master creative. She even used to have a singing career for a little bit. But how you know Kris, if you know Kris, is as a doula, right? I remember when I heard the word doula for the first time, it's because I saw Kris saying she was a doula.
I think so, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
But let's give her official, bio, which is Kris is a perinatal professional. And I had to look this up, sounds very, profesh, right? And how I read the definition and interpreted, it's like a before and after birth professional. Is that right? She's based in
after as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I have more questions.
She's based in New York and has 10 years of experience in childcare and 7 years in birth and postpartum wellness. She offers well-rounded doula experience as a birth doula, postpartum doula, attachment parent coach, childbirth educator, and she is also a certified lactation counselor and fertility advocate in training.
Yeah, you'll hear that. That's a resume there.
So
right?
here's the deal. we are Caribbean millennials, and even as much as we try to deny the fact that we're growing up, scroll your timeline, check in with your friends, everybody's having babies, right?
Yeah.
True.
We've kind of just approached that time in our
Yeah,
lives.
well, that
And
point.
even if me, Vernon, and Danny like don't have kids that they're willing to acknowledge, at this
The
moment.
child really didn't want to
Body.
acknowledge.
Hey.
I tell you that the child
Well,
really didn't
I
want me
mean,
to
technically,
acknowledge me.
Vernon acknowledges his twins. So.
Exactly. That's why I say that
Right.
I acknowledging them, but the mother don't want me to acknowledge them.
Yeah.
She don't want me in their
on
life.
her. That's on her.
You know?
And the twins probably like 18 now, eh?
I know. I never got to be in their
Yes.
life. Damn. That one hit me, But you know what you can do.
But anyway, y'all, I mean, it's the realness, right? All of us are in our 30s now, and for a lot of us women, it's that, like TikTok, okay, is
Yeah.
it time? Or if you're listening and you're already a parent, maybe even thinking about having another child, or even just you went through a birth experience and that was, what you expected. But maybe it didn't have to be that way. We brought Kris on here just for us to learn more because
learn a
Yay.
different way,
yeah,
a possibly better way. Learn answer any questions that you may have if you know about it, you've been thinking about it, and you're on the fence. Anything that can help people, make that decision.
Right.
yeah, and just I guess understand
Yeah.
the landscape, because I think it's a big life change, life decision, and I don't feel like people talk a lot about the details
Talk
enough.
about the details.
Yeah, I
Right.
feel like it's shifting a bit, but there's still some of those traditional views and you'll find out when you go through it, or
Mhm.
it's always been that way, so that's how it needs to be. So,
Yeah.
Kris,
Yeah. Hi. I think
what's a doula, Kris?
what
What's
is a doula? A doula
Yeah, that was going
is
to be my question.
yes, a doula is anyone who's there's a doula by name and there's a trained professional doula. Overall,
Okay.
a doula is anyone who's supporting a family during birth and their postpartum stage. A professionally trained doula has a wide variety of expertise from, like you mentioned, perinatal. So can handle childbirth education, teaching you the tips and tricks, what to expect in labor as an educator, working with you through your birth, and also helping you at home with your baby, with lactation, with feeding, with sleep, which is a big one. That person is pretty much your guide during pregnancy. So a lot of people like you, I have some people who are very much like, we're not even pregnant yet. We're just turned 30, but we know we want you to be our doula. What can we do? And one thing I tell like millennials like myself, although I already had children, I had them pretty young, is you gotta know your body, right? So I don't believe in the TikTok clock. Actually, if I had to do it over again, I'd probably have my kids over 35.
Really?
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I definitely would.
I know.
Why?
No, it's because we getting down to stuff here. It's
Yeah.
something really interesting. There.
Mhm.
So I mean, yeah, why?
Yeah, because I feel like and this is my own personal journey, but I feel
Okay.
like I would have been more content with progressing and establishing my career before I had children and then brought them on board. Am I doing
Okay,
really well
okay,
as
I
a
understand.
parent? Yeah, but I feel like I would have been crushing it if I started a little later. And like you say, and like people will tell you, just wait, you'll find out, because a lot of things in the Caribbean, let's be honest, around anything that involves sex or comes from sex, including
Mhm.
parenting, pregnancy, or menstrual cycle, fertility, miscarriages, they don't talk about that. That's taboo.
Top secret, That's top
Top
secret
secret.
information you're talking about there, Chris.
Yes.
They might take you out there, Witness protection as well.
When your mother or your grandmother watch your Chris, what you talking about that
You
for?
see? Exactly.
So
That's
I
good
guess
conversation.
even like leaning on that mother or grandmother thing, right? Devil's advocate. Okay, you say no. Oh, what you need a doula for?
That's
Oh, we
Right?
did that
my
by
next question.
ourselves.
Or did
Oh, why
they?
you need somebody? Okay, so let's go
Or
Okay,
into
did
let's
that.
go
they?
there.
Right?
Let's
Let's
Now,
go into that.
exactly. So that's where doula came from. Now, that's why I said this doula, anyone who's supporting you, and there's like a trained professional doula, right? Because your best friend can be a doula, your sister could be a doula, anybody that's with you, holding your hand, coaching you through labor, coaching you through birth, and like being there for you holistically, providing you with education, that's your support. So doulas really come from historically, women always gave birth in villages. You guys ever
Right, and with
see
other women, yeah.
exactly? Did you guys watch Handmaid's Tale?
No, but I want
Okay,
to.
well,
It's on my list of things to watch.
watch it on your list of things to do, and then we can have another conversation about what birthing in those spaces look like. But it's heavily supported. Unfortunately, in the Caribbean, in the hospital settings, like I don't know if you guys ever been to like the St. Lucian hospitals and stuff, but people end up being alone for long periods of time
Should just yeah.
in labor, and that's because of just infrastructure. There's not enough space, there's privacy, and a lot of women actually, if they go to labor in the hospitals, they're ending up by themselves for a long period of time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So based on that definition or that perspective of things, a lot of times you'll hear women say, "Oh, I just need my mother." Right? So in that way, when you have your mother come, in a way, your mother is functioning as the doula, because a lot of
Right.
people, their mothers come, the mother's there, sometimes in the delivery room or after, right? It's your mother that's there, maybe helping you with the breastfeeding and, oh, I did this, or try this, that kind
Right.
of thing. So I think we haven't had those definitions or connections, but a lot of time when they bring, a mother, sister, somebody like that in, they're essentially functioning as a doula.
A doula.
I have I have a question.
Uh-huh.
When I first heard the word doula, like Anusha said, it was through your Instagram. I may have seen it, but ever since I had seen it there, I feel like it has blown up. I guess that's the way I could say. You see a lot more doulas, that kind of thing. Is there something that sparked this, or had this always been going on and now we just have more,
right,
knowledge of it?
I understand your question. So you're definitely right, because even when I became a doula, I didn't even know that was a career. Like I remember doing the training and I was like, what? That's a job. Like you could get paid for this? Damn, America. I didn't even know that myself, even though I had doulas in my own births. So what's happened since then was, even where I started this work in a Brooklyn-based organization, Ancient Song Doula Services, and they're a community-based doula organization that directly work with the infants and maternal mortality rate right now. So what was going on at the time?
And Kris, sorry to interrupt you, but can you just elaborate on that for the listeners?
Sure.
Because she answered a next question I was going to ask.
Yes.
How do you find a doula?
Yeah, well, a few things.
Organization.
A few things you're touching on here that I want.
Okay,
when you go on this wave, I want you to hit it, right? So the questions would be, even if you can fill in how you even came into this doula journey for yourself, as well as kind of the view of the need for a doula, considering like modern medicine and the things we know about maternal mortality rates, especially here in the US. All right,
I got you. Yeah. So in a nutshell, it's plain and simple. Black and brown women, people of color, were dying at a higher rate than any other race. Where I lived in Brooklyn had one of the highest rates of infant and maternal death. It means mothers and babies were dying in childbirth. Okay, they are dying in childbirth. So from, like you said, understanding what's going on right now in modern medicine, obstetrics and gynecology, they're medicine. They're strictly medicine, and they don't necessarily tap into the natural element of birth. What's normal? It's just like this can make it seem like an emergency, which leads in high rates of C-sections. People are laboring for shorter times. It's just crazy, really how modern medicine has impacted birth. So with doulas now and the research, and when I started this work, like I mentioned, I was working with Ancient Song Doula Services, and their primary goal was to combat that. It was to combat Black and Brown families dying. And that's one of the solutions was that you could have a doula with you. So research shows that having a doula, having a trained support person or trained support professional outside of your primary care provider, your gynecologist, your obstetric provider, your midwife, that having a doula showed that you had a higher chance of surviving birth. You had a higher chance of having a positive experience in birth. Your doula gives you unwavering one-on-one support. Your nurse is dealing with 20 other people. Your doctor been working 18 hours already, right? But your doula your doula gets to know you. That your doula you don't necessarily meet your doula in the office, but if you do, it might be like something very different. Your feet might be up, you might be getting a massage, you'll be having tea. You usually get to see your doctor for like 15 minutes, but you and your doula have an hour and a half usually together per time. Really getting to know you, getting to know your fears, getting to what makes you feel powerful. And then when you get into the big stage of birth, then tapping back into that, having that same reassuring person. A lot of doulas are calm by nature, right? I'm usually have to be the calmest person in the room. I have to understand my own energy. I have to leave all my baggage outside the door when I'm walking into a birth because I have to be calm. It's a very powerful thing that's happening, and it can also be scary because it's so powerful.
Because your role essentially in that actual birthing, time or position is as being an advocate, right? Between the mother or parents and the medical professional, right?
Yeah, definitely advocating. So when you're planning for your baby, you're going to do something, which is you're going to create your birth plan. Now, I use the word plan, but very loosely. I prefer the word preferences. What you should do is during your pregnancy, get to know your care provider and have different conversations with them that can help you build your birth preferences list. So some of your preferences might be, I want to labor at home for as long as possible. When I get to the hospital, I might not want too many vaginal exams, or I might not even want to know how dilated I am because it might not do anything for me. I would not like to be offered an epidural, or I want an epidural as soon as I feel my first contraction. I want complete silence in the room while I'm pushing, or I need directed pushing. There are so many things that you can customize for your birth. And no matter where you're giving birth, if you're giving birth at home, in your hospital, in a birthing center, in a park, if you're into that, you really have to create your own.
Have you done that before, Kris? Have you helped somebody in the park?
I've labored. It's actually my favorite thing to do during labor. If we're waiting for things to pick up. So, right, if your preference is labor at home for as long as possible, sometimes we go to the park. We get our feet, in the dirt. We're walking, we're stretching, we're breathing, we're, going through the motions. And yeah, but I haven't delivered there. I haven't been there in a delivery, but yeah.
So one of the things in what you were saying, one of the things that it got me thinking about was, so essentially, even just having a birth plan and being prepared in that way, make sure it's a individualized setup versus a one size fits all, because
Exactly.
it seems as if, so I guess if you don't have a birth plan or even if you do, if you go to like the traditional like hospital route, are they gonna still try to like put you through this
Yeah.
like one size fits all? Like one of the things I've seen is that and I don't know if this is true, you'll tell me not, that in the hospital they have women give birth on their backs with their legs up, but that during birth your like spine is supposed to move and like create space, so when you're lying down on your back, like it may prevent that. But so often in the media and stories and people giving birth, you see them laying down on their back in the hospital, but in the I don't know if to call it traditional, but in the like at home, birth scenario, that's where you see people in bathtubs or people
Right.
on all fours, or, like moving their body and stuff like that. But I could understand people's fears of like, oh, well, what if something I want that experience or something like that, but I want the safety and security of a hospital. And
Right.
like, I think what you're saying is with a birth plan, you can find a way to marry what combination of the
Yeah.
world works for you, or your birth
Exactly.
preferences. Sorry.
Mhm.
So,
Exactly. So can I answer that? So
Yeah.
go ahead.
you're exactly correct. And that's why you plan for it. That's why you do it beforehand, so you can have those conversations with your care provider. You can maybe do a hospital tour, so you even know what's available, right?
Mhm.
But you're right. So the thing is, let's come back. Birth is a natural occurrence. Birth is a normal
Mhm.
occurrence. So when you're at home, when you're outside, you can do all those natural things. You can feel like you want to crouch, you will crouch. You want to feel like you want to just get down on all fours, you feel freer to do that. In the hospital settings, there's usually more wires involved. You usually have, IVs,
Restricted.
restrictions. Now, somebody like me, because I work in the hospital quite a lot, I have tips and tricks that can help us still get movement and or still get elemental vibes. Do you need me to stop? Are you hearing the dog?
No, it's fine. You continue.
Organic, right?
Yeah.
There are things that we could do to kind of imitate what it can be, right? So one thing I do when I come into the hospital, I turn off all the lights. I turn off all the lights. I put on some like tea candles. I change the music. I put on music. Because the hospital has natural beeping and very bright lights. I'll help you get into different positions. So although you have all those wires, we're still, like you said, trying to get that pelvis open, your pelvic floor open, the different parts of your lower body open, so your baby can come through. But if you only there with a nurse and a doctor that's not trained in that, they're gonna give you medicine to do a lot of things to happen.
How have the nurses and doctors been like? What has their, I don't know the verb or noun or whatever, like how receptive have they been to having a doula in the room? Like I could imagine some maybe have an attitude, like, and a lot of people, when it comes to change or something new, right, they have that like defensiveness.
Right.
What has that experience been like? And also tying in, like we're talking about this, and I think the doula thing, right, has been more a movement, has been more common in North America, more adopted like in these spaces. But even so, like, let's transition to like what does that look like in a Caribbean context, because I know you've done work there as well, so
exactly,
you have the floor.
So starting in America, I could speak for America first. Like you guys mentioned, we've seen that popularity increase. And same way, the hospitals, they now I have a better understanding of what we do and the impact, so they're more receptive. Every now and then you're going to get a nurse that I'm like, who are you? But some of them actually like having us around, because the people are pressing that nurse button less because they don't need them. We're there supporting. They're not in panic. They know, or they have us walking them through each step. that they don't even have to ask extra questions. In the Caribbean context, in the more developed Caribbean islands, I guess, in Trinidad, there's a Doula Alliance. And they started very small, and now they're welcomed into in hospital and birthing spaces. I guess with their own restrictions and policies. St. Lucia, I even before the pandemic, I used to do virtual work with families in St. Lucia. They just realized I was a doula, and I provided education for them. I would be on the phone with them if they needed to make a decision. As things progress, we'd be checking in with each other until the babies were born. I'm still answering like breastfeeding questions or sleeping questions, etc., or parenting stuff. So that was a thing. And I realized actually everyone needs this. So once I started to talk to nurses and midwives, and to be honest, they're receptive, but at the same time, the culture of signature is like, but who are you? And but we're working very hard. So my little organization, my little hustle on the side, Birth Steadily See, is my solution for that. I want to see St. Lucia having trained professionals supporting people. Similarly to the US, although in St. Lucia they have more midwifery care during birth. So one thing I didn't even know when I gave birth in St. Lucia was I thought my doctor, who was with me all throughout my pregnancy, doing all my checks, all my exams, the one person that I was seeing, I thought the man would be there when I was giving birth. Shocker of my life, I met this person I had never seen before, and she's delivering my baby. You understand? So all this trust that I've established with this person, and like,
and here's the thing, right?
Mhm.
It's not just like delivering your baby. It's like, I know, Vernon and Daniela guys, don't know, but even just going to your gyno, appointments and regular checks, right? Like,
I was about to say, you mean tell me so randomly this stranger you just met like 5 minutes ago,
yeah,
is now
like
down
elbow
there
deep in
poking
your,
around.
You feel me?
right?
I was
Like,
like, whoa, who
no
are
dinner,
you?
no dates, like,
Like, I don't know
Nothing.
you. Like, where's the guy I've been talking for the past 9 months?
Right?
Well, and that's the thing. I think you touch on a really good point there, because
Talk
even
about catfish.
women that I've heard talk about, quote unquote, let's say traumatic, experiences or parts of their birth, had to deal with people being like aggressive down there, or even
Yeah.
people like doing membrane sweeps on them without even bracing them for what that would
Mhm.
involve, and that kind of thing. So it's just that so
Exactly.
I
But it's the same.
mhm.
It's that same space, like you said. So before we go on this call, listeners, we were talking about chakras and how birth is closely connected to your roots and your sacral chakra, which is your yellows and your oranges. Now, for your root chakra, you have to feel grounded. You have to feel rooted. That's trust. So if there's mistrust going on there, or if there is mistrust that has happening now, that's the difference between your doula and your mama. Okay, your doula is trained in, if this person has had any history of, let's say, sexual abuse, I'm going to treat them trauma informed. I know I will have to advocate, can I touch you? I have to make sure that the doctors and the nurses ask for permission before even touching them. Your mother might not be trained to do that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. So I want to touch on this, and we're going to try and get as much as we can in the time, but I understand we might need to bring Kris back, right?
Oh no, I know we need to bring Kris back.
But
Kris,
things
give me homework already.
Right?
I come back for us to talk about. We might be bringing her back.
Yeah.
No, but things your mother may not know or may not be equipped for. And I think even things a lot of women just in general are not equipped for. Like you said, it's for all the processes like before and after birth, and one of the big conversations is postpartum, right?
Right.
And what does that involve, and how many women go through postpartum depression. And let alone, you speak about the birth experience, and let's say if your birth experience was traumatic, as many of us have heard these stories of what women go through in the hospital and the length of time, feeling like they were ignored, going through all of this pain, right? Tell us about postpartum, right?
Yeah. So even in prenatally, there are people who go through prenatal depression. So we know it. Caribbean on a whole, we don't talk about mental health. We don't talk about mental health. We don't talk about women's reproductive health. So what that mean for postpartum mental health? We're not talking about that. So as a doula, we also are trained to flag mood disorders, right? So baby blues might be common, but is it really baby blues, or are we having postpartum psychosis or postpartum depression?
What is baby blues?
Okay, so after you have your baby, your body changes hormonally. It shifts back to your regular hormones. That your body temperature changes, everything changes. So sometimes you just cry out of nowhere. You just cry. Now, if the crying is not stopping, if you feel like you want to hurt yourself, if you don't feel, attached to your baby, people go through that. And having a doula, again, like I said, we could flag it. I personally went through my postpartum depression with my firstborn, and my parents flagged it because I was starting to literally lose my shit. And thankfully, my mother is a nurse, so she has some kind of understanding, and that was different. But that's not everybody. A lot of people just, and that's the impact on parenting, as an impact on motherhood. A lot of people, if you're being honest, in the Caribbean are doing it alone. While there might be that multi-generational household, mother living with their grandmother, which is very common, or grandmother is raising the children, there's a nurturing element that is so missing here. Like, how do we mother the mother? We have to go back to work freaking fast.
It's almost like, look, you push out a baby, step into your role.
Right?
Right? Like,
listen, in the hospital in St. Lucia, they're telling you straight up, when you make a noise, when you're going through your fake, I don't want to laugh, it's pure evil. But they tell people, you didn't know it's going to hurt you.
Yeah, I heard some of those stories and I was like,
what?
shook. Yeah.
Someone is pushing.
Like, head out. Let me be giving birth and let my husband be around to head out and see if somebody will take me to jail.
Don't worry, talk to my wife that way.
Right?
Check your attitude and your tone at the door.
Right?
None of that shit today. Off the bat, I can tell you that. You don't want to tell somebody that, like, you didn't know it was going to. Excuse me?
Yeah.
Then you'd be a good doula.
No, my thing is, no, when they would say I would punch him, I say you didn't know it was going to hit.
Sorry.
What?
Exactly.
It's clear that you need a doula because some of these people, they are not sensitive to what a woman is going through in that time.
Well, and here's the thing. I feel like some of them, like, they see it every day. Multiple times a day,
to it?
And they're just trying to, like, get you in, get you out, get you in, get you out.
Yeah.
And I think that's why there are a lot of C-sections and stuff, because they don't want to allow the time that it will take. Because
here's my question, Kris: how does someone find the right doula for them? Because clearly you need somebody who can advocate for you, can stick up for you, and make sure you get what. So
question, is it accessible or affordable? Right? Like, is it
where do you find somebody? Do you go on Google? Like,
or is it like at the same time?
Pages.
People put saying, "Oh, I want this person to be my godmother or godfather," right? Like, is it that if you don't have the access, if there isn't a doula that you can pay for, is there somebody in your network that you say, will you be my doula? Like the same way you say, will you be my bridesmaid? Will you be godmother? Like, there should be, like, somebody to help you for that time too.
Exactly. So Google is always our best friend. So Google, doulas in my area. There are websites that will come up like Doula Match, or, for Doula Match, right? Swipe right on me. Let's have a baby.
Wait. Like, you have an app and you can swipe and whatnot.
That's cool. The descriptions must be very, unique.
What?
No, it literally
Crazy.
my doula profile is like a dating profile. It's like, I'm Kris. I have 2 kids and a dog. I listen to Jay-Z.
Really? I
What
could
about you?
I could imagine your tagline being dope ass doula.
Yeah. Yep. I know. So yeah, you could Google with your best friend. If you're in St. Lucia, you can follow our page, Birth Set Lisi, and you can get doulas there. We have doulas in training that are accessible. Now that's what we're trying to do. So your doula price
I
is
went to
gonna
Doula match,
range.
by the way.
Bernard is on doula match.
I need to see
Guys,
this for
I am not
myself.
pregnant. Bernard is just
I just
on
need
his
to know. You know.
Put in your area. What do you want?
He has some very interesting facial expressions.
What are your requirements?
I don't know yet. That was going to be my
Hey,
next
that's his
question to Kris.
question.
So
Yeah.
What should
let
he
You
look
Kris
must
for?
like
continue and I
pineapple
go.
on pizza,
Honestly, yeah. Honestly, you have to vibe with your doula. That's a very
Well,
important
and
part.
it's not only the mother,
Because that was going
right?
to be my
It's
question.
both.
Like, what questions are you asking that person to figure out if they are a match?
Yeah.
You know, like what you should be looking for.
Well,
Yeah.
and sorry to add in again, but it's like the person also needs to vibe with you and your partner if,
Yes.
that's your situation. Because
Yeah.
if you're talking about a postpartum doula as well, right? That's looking for
Yeah.
somebody like, let's say you have your baby, you're going through postpartum depression, you and or just the postpartum experience, right? And you and your husband sleepless and whatever, and the doula is in here while you and your husband maybe like snapping at each other or whatever. Like, you want to have it be, that's
Yeah.
inviting somebody into a space that's like extremely vulnerable and
Right.
also like,
Right.
you
Now,
know, and
now
you want
that's
someone you can trust, right?
exactly. So that's why I tell you I always have to be the calmest person in the room, because I can be stepping into anything, like a partner might be even more scared. A partner might be, have their own trauma, their own shit, or, whatever the dynamic can be there. But what's some things you need to ask, right? So that's again coming back to accessibility and just like finding that match. How much experience do you want your doula to have? Does it matter to you? So younger, newer doulas fresh out of trainings are usually more affordable. More doulas as they, get on more certification, more years, more birth, more experience, their ticket price kind of goes higher. Now for you, you might just be like, I don't care. I just want somebody, who actually has done the training, understands birth, and knows we work together and they understand my need. Or you might be like, actually, I want the most experienced person ever. Um, I spend so many hours with the people. Now that's different, right? Your doctor, again, 15 minutes in and out, in and out. But your doula, you'll sit for a while. Before the pandemic, I would meet my clients, we'd have coffee, we'd have teas. I've had over 100 births, and I could tell you so many of my families were still very close because we share such intimate and close time. You come in with a Kris and a baby the same day. Sometimes I'm in your house for 100 hours. So a week, sorry.
She said
I
you
just
could
like,
make a Kris and a baby the same day. I heard
yeah.
that. I got that,
So, Kris, what do you like? Can you give us some examples of like?
No, well, hold
Okay.
on. Let her finish that
Okay.
because I have some. I know where you going.
Yeah.
And I want
Okay.
to,
I'll
yeah,
let you go.
yeah.
Go, Kris. Go.
I know. I mean, I love this. This is like, that's one of the favorite parts of my job, right? Because you get to be with newborns and you also get to be with like families and cool people. Again, they have to have a match. They have to be like me. We have to like vibe. So what are they into? What are you into? Some people ask me like, what do you do for fun? And it's like, I watch Netflix. Did you watch Inventing Anna? They watch Inventing Anna. We talk a little bit about it. I'm a coffee person. My people are coffee people. Like people, you have, or dog people. I love working for dog people because dog people have this different vibe. Okay, like dog parents, they already understand parenting, and I'm a dog parent too, so I already know I do work really well with dog parents.
Vernon, we doing okay then?
I know we're doing okay.
Yeah, man.
That
You hear that,
terrorist we have
Oreo?
down there,
Yeah,
the terrorist. Oh, damn in the
yeah.
stiff meat.
But you have to interview people. You have to anybody. You have to interview your doctor too. That's another thing.
Mhm.
People think like, well, I've been going to this person since I've had my first period. I'll just no. Their C-section rate might be high. So you might want to talk to them about that. You might want to talk to them. What do they consider high risk? Because what they consider high risk, another care provider might not. And you might have a
Mhm.
vaginal delivery. So you want to interview your care providers, and then no, you can always switch. You can be like, actually, I don't feel safe with this person. Why would you want to open up your legs for somebody you ain't feeling? So you can always switch. You can
Very
fire
true.
your care providers.
Chris,
Exactly.
I want to rewind back to something you had said earlier, right? About you spend time developing this relationship and rapport with your doctor, but on the day of, it could be, somebody completely different. Like,
Mm-hmm.
is that just typical of how it works and like the structure? And I
Yeah, is it
guess
typical? Is it a Caribbean thing? Because you said it happened
Mm-hmm.
in St. Lucia. Is that a everywhere thing?
Mm-hmm. It's very typical in St. Lucia, I can speak for, because there is midwifery care when you go into the hospital. If there's an emergency, there's usually like a doctor on the floor doing rounds, but you're usually delivering with a midwife if you're low risk. If you have high risk or risk, you would be working with a doctor, and it might be yours, and it might not, depending on your insurance, depending on where you get healthcare, depending on do you have private or public, health.
Ah,
You got money, you don't. All these things impact it. In
Mhm.
America, we have different how should was the right word the offices have their different structures, and some of them, if they have a practice that has, let's say, six, you might meet one who might be your primary, and you'll meet them for a couple sessions, and then closer to your due date you will start
it's
meeting
another
all the
one.
other people on the team.
Okay,
So you have
okay.
to at least meet everybody once on the team, so there are no surprises, right? Even so, we talk about informed care, right? We talk about trauma informed. Something as simple as somebody walking into the room and saying, "Hi, I'm Kris. I am going to, or can I do X, Y, and Z," is different than somebody just coming in. Wait, wait, my girl, what you doing? Open your legs there. You know what I mean? No, who are you? What are you doing? What
I ain't
what
gonna lie, I
what
thought that was a Lucianist for a second there,
I
boy.
am a Lucian. What are you talking about?
No, no, no. I was like a Lucian, Victoria or some nurse that was
It
there
flash
on
you
the
back. It
podcast.
flash you back to your time in the
He's
hospital.
like, whoa, whoa, hold on
You took Vernon back to a dark place in his life.
His
now.
first songs.
Uh, but no, that's crazy that like, wow, 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 wow. Okay, so they have the baby. You say you get a Kris and a baby.
Yeah.
Like, what happens? Like, they calling you all odd hours. Like, what's
You moving in,
you
like
moving in? Like, how does it work?
Mm,
Like, it's like I'm here for a couple hours and I go home. Call
mhm,
me if anything, but don't call me past midnight type thing. Or my
mhm.
phone on. Call me at any time.
and then when you're there, like what does it look like when you're there,
Right.
if
Yeah.
you're there?
So it's a business. It has structures. There are packages that you can purchase. So I sell by the hour. So you could have a doula. My services include 4 hours in a daytime. 4 hours is a daytime
Okay.
session. For some clients, I do longer, like 8 hours. Um, or I do night sessions. Night sessions can be anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a night. So the people who plan ahead and they book me, we were able to schedule things. So I can, we can create a schedule. Maybe I come 3 nights a week or 5 nights a week at first, and then we dwindle down. I could come in, I could sleep train your baby. There are different things that I can do. Um, or there are people who yes, you heard that right. Sleep train will come back to
Vernon
me.
and I, like,
Yeah,
I
I
just
was like,
like
hey, but Chris offering a
looked
lot
at each
there.
other like,
I
excuse
know.
me, what?
So my thing is, I would not appreciate it. I see a lady on Doula match. She have 1 year experience, but her birth fee is $900 to $1,500. Okay,
Yeah,
Oh,
Rebecca.
what?
so
Oh, a
Rebecca,
birth fee.
her birth
Okay.
fee.
All
Rebecca,
right.
that's just her birth fee.
that's
All right.
Rebecca's birthday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
well,
no, the other thing
mhm.
is Vanana and I are preparing to go visit my brother soon, and they have a 5 to 6 month old. and will be
Mm.
staying in the house and they having issues with sleep training. I'm like, oh shoot, Vernon, do I need to bring my
Me,
earplugs?
I already know
Like,
what that for.
Yes.
When I go to sleep, I go to sleep, eh?
Or make them do
Oh
a
no.
we can do a consultation. I can help them. I can help them. That's doulas do that. Doulas are so clutch. We can help
Chris, if
sleep train
if
babies.
I give you a call next week, emergency, it's for
Exactly.
my sleep.
Exactly. So I have families like that too. They're like, listen, it's been 6 weeks, 2 hours of sleep intermittently. We're almost dead. I meet them in their hallways at like 11 p.m. at night. We barely see each other's face. They show me where the nursery is, and I just hang out with the kid until it's sunrise, and then we have a coffee. So
Okay.
yeah, there's different ways. So that's the people that didn't plan. So make sure you plan for it. And that's good what you're doing. You're doing your research right now. You're budgeting, right? So that's a common mistake that people make. They plan for the baby and they forget about themselves.
Mm.
So
Okay.
what you can
And
do,
I feel like, sorry, I feel like though that's almost an expectation people, community, society like put on mothers and parents that like this phase of life you just, oh, that's just a part of this phase of life to like lose yourself, for
right?
put yourself on a back burner because this is your
Exactly.
priority now.
Yeah, like motherhood is equal to sacrifice,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
Everything about it should hurt. You should sacrifice your sleep. You should sacrifice your sanity. You should sacrifice yourself, and that's so
Blood,
far.
sweat, and tears, you know.
Hmm?
That's what they tell you. Blood, sweat, and tears. That's
Exactly.
what they tell
Literally.
you. Yeah,
Literally.
literally. Yeah.
Literally, but yeah, it doesn't have to be like that. It takes a village. And the other thing too is, we have a lot of ancestral knowledge in parenting and how to do things. We have a lot of cultural things in the way in which we parent, the way we eat, the way we sleep. But as we grow and learn in everything, babies sleep and nutrition and breastfeeding, there's more research on these things now. So something your grandmother might be doing or what my grandmother might have been doing is irrelevant right now. So research has definitely given us more answers. So as parents or parents to be, take their time, go to childbirth classes, go to infant care classes, read the books, buy the books, listen to the parenting podcast. Like that's why I told you, like if I had to do it again, I'll do it later because I would want to, they will have parts of it that has to be instinctual and natural, but
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
hurt to help to prepare and plan for it. So
Yeah, I saw what you're saying. Now they have so much more information readily available
I
and
think
so much
even
more help.
one of the things that comes to mind is the effort people put into planning for their education,
or their
Okay.
weddings.
or their wedding,
Yeah.
right? All of that time planning, investment, right? And are you putting the same thing into the birthing process versus what the baby needs after, because a lot of people focus on the things,
Mm-hmm.
the car seat, the diapers, the this, the that, and not like
Yeah, but
the
not
lifestyle,
what
the
happens when you bring the child
preparedness,
home.
the exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
perfect. And this is like best case scenario, right? This is we're actually family planning. We're practicing safe sex. We're watching our cycles. We're doing things. So thinking about the unplanned pregnancies,
Yeah.
or what does family look like now? What does parenting look like now? It's not always ideal. So even if you are put in these spaces, make an effort and like to just learn a little more. I could say like even me significantly the way I parent my first and second child was different. My first, I was listening to what my parents would tell me to do, honestly. And by my second, while when she was born, I was becoming a doula, and she wasn't even wanting it. And I had become a parent coach, and I had studied attachment parenting and learning the
Ah.
principles of attachment parenting. And I just did everything I was teaching with her, and the vibe just was different. Like I'm a gentle parent. I know how to talk children through tantrums. I know how to like well, maybe they learn how to negotiate. So um even that too, like I wish to see, like that's my dream. I wish to see like more Caribbean parents taking on gentle parenting, because we're just so used to you have to be like tough love or like beaten and discipline.
Well, you said that, and I flash back to like one of the last times I was home and driving through town, and you just see a mother boop a little child, you know,
It's the boop for me.
you know, and you say, "Missy, that woman really wicked." You
I
know?
agree, but then I see how, like, you see how my mother is with my nephew.
Mhm.
Like, that's that old school parenting, but for some reason, like, it's like my brother.
Here's the
And,
thing: you want to be gentle, but you don't want to be a bois, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, because like I see like my brother and his wife with my nephew, and it's like it's a pull teeth and a fight, and then my mother comes and it's like they have no argument. Like I watched this lady tell the child we're going to sleep now, and there was nothing. It was just like
he just
okay.
lie down.
He just put his head down and he went to sleep.
Ah!
I was like, what is happening right now?
She has that authority. You know, it's like even training dogs. For my dog to walk on a leash, I had to practice the cool confidence. So like relaxing my shoulders, holding his leash, and just like confirming this is where we're going and we're walking, but I'm not tugging on his.
Yeah.
I'm not tugging on his thing. So
We don't have that one. At least I don't have that one.
It was crazy because my dad is like a dog guy. When
Mhm.
my dad came to visit and I gave him the leash for our dog, it was like night and day. Like
Mhm.
he was just like chill. I was like, God damn it, I'm
That
not.
man is a terrorist. The man's a terrorist, all right? And anyway, we don't talk about that. Dog. We don't talk about the terrorist. That's not what we have to talk about.
That's a whole other podcast.
That's a whole other
Yeah.
Dog
podcast.
moms and dads.
All right. Yeah. So where does one go to get trained to become a doula? And what does that training look like?
Yeah.
And I'm asking this because I have a follow-up question after that. But
Okay.
let
Great.
me let you.
So
Yeah.
there are different trainings, virtual, in person. A lot of them now are virtual. A lot of trainings have different value systems. So there are some community-based trainings that are usually more affordable, more accessible. Usually have a scholarship for people. Then there are pro doula trainings that can coach you from going straight into doula training into having a business. And mentoring you through it. Usually, doula trainings can take there are sometimes weekend intensives where you come for 3 days and you're there all day just doing the practical stuff, and then you have a process of certification, which would require you going to additional classes, doing book reports, getting documents signed from other care providers and from your clients. Or there are some that can take a whole year, but you just at every checkpoint you meet the criteria.
Okay, you meet the criteria. Okay.
Mhm.
And then my next question is, so then tomorrow we decide to have a baby and whatnot. And we find somebody, we vibe with them and whatnot. But what are there some accreditations that's better than others? Like what should I be looking for in terms of certification and that kind of stuff?
You've seen where they studied.
Yeah.
That's good.
So to be fair, to be very honest with you, I guess this is where I'm not so Caribbean anymore. I don't care for certification as more than I care for your values.
Okay.
Right? Because
your values
again,
and experience, I guess.
right. So the same way I kind of tiered up the different types of trainings from like lower cost to higher cost. To me, like if usually there's an element of classism to it too. It's because you were trained in the community as opposed to this person who probably had access to more income, so they could have afforded a higher doula training, but the training might be the same. The training might even be the same trainer, but just a different certification. So in your process of finding a doula, you want to find out, have they had experience birthing or laboring where you are planning to give birth, so in the hospital, or do they have home birth experience? Have they worked with your care provider in the past or not? What are they, based on the plans and the preferences that you have, are they aligned to that as well? You always want to find out, are they within your budget? What comes in their packages? Because every doula has different packages. So mine has a lot of education in the forefront. But some doulas might offer, maybe an online access to something, and maybe some people might be massage therapists slash doulas, so their package might have massage included. Some people, you might want somebody like that has yoga experience, because that person might help you get into some poses, or work with you through prenatal yoga. So again, your doula you have to vibe, and when you're on websites like that, or even when you're thinking about it, think about who would you want in the space. Some people have, I'll tell you, some people have not hired me because they wanted a mother figure. I'm not that, some people hire me because of who I am, and we look alike and we're into the same thing. But you definitely have to talk to a couple of them, at least 5. You want to meet 5 doulas, and then once you start, it's like you say, you fly my maid on Caribbean Millennials. You have to fly your maid when you have to go and meet a doula. It's like, be anxious, be nervous on the first date. I don't know. And they might, carry on the conversation, and then you realize, okay, I actually have questions now. And then you go on your second dates, and you'll start feeling warm, and you'll start understanding
It's like
your own
proposing.
preferences. Yeah.
Caught your doula, I honestly, I got a lot of information here, and because this is not something I know anything about. Like, I see people talk about it, but you shed some light there for me. So I feel like I'm not an expert, but I know a little more.
Yeah,
I
my
love
brain
it.
feeling a little full there. I'm not going to lie.
Really? Well,
No, but like in
in
a good way.
No, in a good way.
In a good
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Yeah. I guess as we're nearing the end, and did you say you've had like over 100 births? Is that what you said?
mm-hmm.
You hear that stat sheet?
You hear that what?
The LeBron
stat
James
sheet.
of doulas, right
Hey,
there.
Hey.
I love it. I feel so. I'm humbled, guys. Like, you honestly make my day. Thank you so much for bigging me up like that.
Hey, no. Hey, that 100 births, that's no small feat there.
And
No.
Chris, you've been in this. You added doula to the vocabulary of probably like thousands of people without even noticing your impact.
That's true.
Yeah, we have to big you up.
Thank you.
A couple like last questions that I have. You've had 100, births, so dropping these to 3 questions.
Okay.
Common things, and we maybe touch on this first one, but if there are any extra common things people don't know or expect about the delivery to postpartum phase. Common mistakes new parents make, which could probably be a whole podcast. And
yes,
wanna give us a couple,
a snippet.
And I don't know if you want to add this before or after, but how can men be more supportive or involved in the whole process, right? Because, didn't make that baby by yourself, right?
So the first...
I breathe in and everything. And the class breathing too.
Hey, love it. I love it. As you should.
As you should. Baby.
No, I know about all of that, but breathe.
Yes.
You got this.
Exactly. Now that's what you have to bring into the birth space. That you see the way you guys are laughing and that oneness you share and that humor. That's what you have to bring, because oxytocin is makes you feel good. And if you can increase that in labor, then you could go through it easier and faster too. So
I'm in good stead then.
Good stead.
I say, boy, if it's one thing I good at being is a clown. So
laughing. Now, when she tell you though, she don't want to hear it though. You gotta quit and don't take it personal.
I know when to shut up. I know when to shut up.
So oh no, well, Anushka asked you some questions.
The question was, so common things people should know. Labor is normal, natural process. It can take a while, okay, or it could go very quickly. Usually on your first time, it can take 12 hours plus. Okay, there are different stages of labor. It's not all hectic, you know. The pain is temporary, and at the end of it, there's a baby, so you can go through it, okay? You want to know that a common thing people don't know is that they have choice. Like you can make your options, you can make your preferences, you can say no. You don't have to be bullied into doing something that doesn't feel right. You want to always ask what are the benefits, the risks, the alternatives. Ask your intuition. And what if you do nothing? If you ask your providers these questions, you're most likely to have a good answer and you can make an informed decision. Some people usually don't know about baby sleep and breastfeeding, right? It's breastfeeding isn't always as easy for everyone. Unfortunately for us in the Caribbean, there's a lot of bad information about breastfeeding. So I would, tell people take a breastfeeding class if you can, or, follow us at Birth DC. We always try to post stuff on breastfeeding. What's your second question?
How men can be more supportive in the process. I think you answered 2 out of the 3, so that's the third one. Cool. How men can be more supportive and involved.
Do the classes, read the books, take your ego outside of the door. Okay. I've seen wonderful. Yeah, for sure. YouTube is your friend. There are guys killing it. Just joking. That's the other thing. Like, I don't want people to feel like dads are always out of the picture or bad or clueless. Right? There are dads killing it right now, like really doing the thing. Really taking the twins, Yes. Oh, with that twin.
Yeah, sorry.
Kris, save me.
Oh my god!
Then you can try for another set of twins.
Whoa, hold on there. Okay. So with the whole like dad thing, right? Not to cut you off. It should be like the dad and the doula, like so the dad needs to know a team, right? Okay, yeah, that's what I think.
We make the birth team. So there's the birthing person and the birth team. So even now, these days in the hospitals in America, they write on the board mom name, dad name, doula name, because we're the birth team. Yeah. So the birth can take a long time. You might need some rest. So I might tap you out. You might do the first 8 hours on your own, and then I might come in.
Why I imagine like superheroes showing up to the hospital? Birth team! No, birth team. We are birth team! Like just father, doula, mother, granny, like just everybody have together. Everybody have like theme shirts, like we are the birth team. We are ready.
I love
Power
that.
Rangers.
I need you guys to be part of my marketing team or something.
Birth team. Coming to a hospital near you. I think I had 2 questions. I've just been listening, but I had 2 questions, right? Because I don't know when I'll get a chance to ask this again.
Okay.
That last, like, 24 to 72 hours before the child is born, like, how is it specifically, I guess, in terms of men? Like, are we is it still like common procedure for us to be in the birthing room? Like a lot of like common social media and pop culture references, like have the man's hand getting crushed. Like, like what's it like in that like final stages? Like you've done all the doula training, you've gone to University of YouTube, you've gotten her the wasabi, pecan and sardine ice cream at 4:00 in the morning. Rub feet, rub bellies, play the baby Beethoven, like at that finish line, like, especially for men, like what is it like driving to the hospital? I forget what your highway is in that side, but I-95, whatever it might be, like what's it like?
Yeah. I've never had a penis, so from a doula's perspective.
Great answer, Kris. Great answer.
From a doula's perspective,
outsider looking in. Yeah.
Yeah, dad's usually called the doulas. I'm usually texting the dad more so. Because
Okay.
mom is laboring and doing her thing. If there's a dad,
Yeah.
right? If
She don't
there's
have
a
time to
dad.
text.
Huh?
She don't have time to text. She busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. She's making a baby. So
Yeah.
I usually talk to dads again. So I think one of my biggest goals is being a doula is making you feel confident on the onset of labor, right? I want you
Mm.
to get your first set of contractions and feel like, okay, I got this. Not, oh my God, what the fuck is happening? Like, then my work would have been redundant. So usually dads, they understand their role. I usually send like an infographic of this is what she's processing right now. These might be her emotional needs. Reminder to drink some water. Reminder to pee. Here's what you can do. So now I tell my family straight up, like if things are still early or if we're working on a goal, maybe they need to ripen the cervix. It's like, you guys should, have a glass of wine and have sex. You don't need me. This is not the type of party. But
Oh no.
semen and orgasms actually help induce labor. So for a lot of my families who maybe go past their due dates and feeling doomed about induction or C-section, I'm like, guys, go have sex. That's
No.
what ripens. That's what ripens the cervix. So yeah, that's kind of what that's kind of the dad vibe working with me from a doula perspective. They're usually calm.
Sounds good. I
Adani, was that the only questions you had? I thought you said you had two. Oh,
I think
you may never have a chance to ask it
I
again,
know.
JK. We're bringing Kris
No
back.
pressure. No pressure. No pressure.
Kris, I don't know. I don't know if I'm. You know what? Tomorrow's not given. I don't know if I'm going to get to ask this again.
Okay.
What's your view on the whole like placenta thing? Because you see stuff about like people eating it, you see stuff about people burying it and like planting a tree. Like
Yeah.
you see stuff
Saving
about
it to make cake.
Yeah, or
I don't
jewelry.
know.
Jewelry.
For
People
sure?
are making jewelry.
Okay, didn't know that.
Yeah.
You see things about like
you
people
see, I
want the
researching.
delayed. You see people want the delayed cord cutting
clamping.
because
Yeah.
or whatnot.
So I think you should take your placenta. Especially as Black people, we should always take our stuff because it's a whole organ. Okay, it's a whole organ. Why are you
I don't
laughing?
need to laugh.
No.
We don't try that whole thing.
No, I agree for
I agree with you,
Next thing your placenta end up in an egg in library somewhere. You
know,
know?
up until she said that, it made no sense. When you said as Black people should take our things, I was like, oh, it makes sense.
Yeah, you're not leaving anything back there.
Yeah,
Not
your
leaving
men raise
anything
you
back
better.
there.
Your men raise you better. Just leave your things
Yeah,
everywhere.
especially if you're paying for that shit. I take in the hospital
okay.
bill too.
No, but
makes sense.
you spent a whole 9 months building that.
Yeah. No, that's making sense now. Wow.
Yeah, the last thing you need is somebody doing some
voodoo thing on your placenta.
No, Kris, you solved the problem there. I think that's what we'll have to from now on. Take your thing with you.
Yeah, even though you don't use it, you don't want anybody else to have it.
Yeah,
so,
but don't
right?
leave your things all over the place. Take it with you.
It
Wow.
makes so much sense.
What would you do with the hoodoo?
I'm so glad I asked. Okay.
That's the most simple explanation, but it made the most sense.
Yep.
I'm going to sleep on that.
And I hear
Don't
you
get
choking
caught up.
in the back there. I'm like, yo, what is
Don't get caught up.
You said it,
Yeah.
and I was like, and I laughed. I was like, but yo, she have a point there.
Next
I
thing
wouldn't just leave my things anyway.
the state farm man come on the TV. Do you know where your placenta is?
You feel me?
Wow.
Exactly. No, but that's the reality. They're doing like so much research and studies on these things, and now they're gonna come and tell you, right? Like, so remember I talked about ancestral knowledge, like the things that we know. There are some things your grandmother will put you onto that she knows, that we know, the body knows. Intuitively we know. But then a lot of science, they debunk it until they've done enough research. So they might, FDA won't approve it, but your grandma told you it was cool. So
Yeah.
But and so they using all those things, they're researching your placenta, they're doing it. So some of the benefits of having your placenta taken as a pill can help with the same postpartum depression, can help with lactation and just general of having energy. I have not had mine. Maybe the next time around, I if I wouldn't mind having the pills, maybe, because I don't think it would hurt. But yeah, definitely, those are definitely things you want to do your research on, okay? Before having your baby.
Well, Kris, thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining us here today. It has been a thrilling discussion. I feel like we've all learned so much and, enjoyed,
Can
learning
can a man
and
be a
just,
doula?
Yes,
oh,
yes,
Okay. All
yes,
right.
yes, yes,
All right.
yes,
yeah.
yes.
All right.
Yeah,
Adani, check out Birth St. Lucie.
yes, you
All
should.
right. Ball guy birthing. All right.
Ooh, okay.
Yes.
GB.
Nice.
Thank you so much for joining us, listeners. You can find Kris's details in the show notes at Booth St. Lucie. And what's the other profile, Kris? At
Underscore Kris Bailey.
_ Kris Bailey. So
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun. This might have been my favorite podcast, and I'm still going to try to figure out what my fruit face is.
Okay.
I thought it was a pomme d'amour.
Nah. She have to
I
figure that out.
clearly
Next
she
time
does not
come back-
agree. You know.
No. We're giving them the choice, Edani. We're giving them
A pomme d'amour is a wax apple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like a pomme d'amour, but
Ah,
yeah.
you see?
It has to be really red. It cannot be the waxy whitish.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. That's exactly what I had in mind.
Good.
Well, guys, it's been another episode of the Caribbean Millennials podcast. We're out.